Hello, my name is Leo. Welcome to another reading of The Elder Scrolls. Today we're going to be reading A Short History of Morrowind by Jeanette Sitt. I think that's how you say that name. From the introduction. Led by the legendary prophet Veloth, the ancestors of the Dunmer, exiles from Ultima cultures in present-day Somerset Isle, came to the region of Morrowind. In earliest times, the Dunmer were harassed or dominated by Nord sea raiders. Like Vikings, essentially. When the scattered Dunmer tribes consolidated into the predecessors of the modern Great House clans, they threw out the Nord oppressors and successfully resisted further incursions. The ancient ancestor worship of the tribes was in time superseded by the monolithic tribunal temple theocracy, which is full of shit, and the Dunmer grew into a great nation called Rezidan. Rezidan was the last of the provinces to submit to Tiber Septim, like Black Marsh. It was never successfully invaded, and was peacefully incorporated by treaty into the Empire as the province of Morrowind. Almost 4 centuries after the coming of the Imperial Legions, Morrowind is still occupied by Imperial Legions, with a figurehead Imperial King, though the Empire has reserved most functions of the traditional local government to the ruling councils of the 5 great houses. On Vvardenfell. In 3rd Era 414, Vvardenfell territory, previously a temple preserve under Imperial protection, was reorganized as an Imperial provincial district. Vvardenfell had been maintained as a preserve administered by the temple since the Treaty of the Armistice. Sorry, the Treaty of the Armistice? Armistice is like another word for treaty. The Treaty of the Treaty, sure, whatever. And except for a few great house settlements, sanctioned by the temple. Vvardenfell was previously uninhabited and undeveloped. But when the centuries-old temple ban on trade and settlement of Vvardenfell was revoked by King of Morrowind, a flood of Imperial colonists and Great House Dunmer came to Vvardenfell, expanding old settlements and building new ones. The old district was divided into Redoran, Halau, Tovani, and temple districts, each separately administered by local house councils or temple priesthoods, and all under the advice and consent of Duke Dren and the district council on Ebenheart. So, do you think the reason why they banned people from going to Vvardenfell is because they were worried about, Dagatho, and they were feeling slightly guilty about having backstabbed him? And Nereva, that too. Local law became a mixture of house law and imperial law in house districts, jointly enforced by house guards and imperial guards, with temple law and imperial law enforced in the temple district by ordinators, who are dicks. Mostly. The temple was still reorganized as the majority religion, but worship of the 9 divines was protected by the legions and encouraged by the imperial cult missions. I don't know why they're called a cult. Maybe because we're in Morrowind. If we were in other countries, it wouldn't be a cult. Other provinces, rather. The temple district included the city of Vivek, the fortress of Ghostgated, makes sense, and all sacred and profane sites, including those blighted areas inside the Ghost Fence, and all unsettled and wilderness areas of Vvardenfell. That's a lot of area. In practice, this district included all parts of Vvardenfell not claimed for Redoran, Halau, or Tovani districts. The temple stubbornly fought all development in their district and were largely successful. What about your dicks? House Halau, in combination with the imperial colonists, embarked on a vigorous campaign of settlement and development. The decades after reorganization, Balmoral, and as the Ascanian Isles regions, have grown steadily. Chaldea and Peligard are completely new settlements, and all Legion forts were expanded to accommodate larger garrisons. House Tovani, normally conservative and isolationist, also they're crazy, has been surprisingly aggressive in expanding beyond their traditional tower villages. Disregarding the protests of the other houses, the temple, the duke, and the district council, Tovani pioneers have been encroaching on the wild lands reserved to the temple, and Tovani Council officially disavows responsibilities for these rogue Tovani settlements, but It is an open secret that they are encouraged and supported by ambitious Telvanni mage lords, because they're dicks. Under pressure from the temple... Wait, before we move on to Redoran, I just wanted to mention that, pretty much when you join Telvanni and build your stronghold, that stronghold is pretty much in temple territory. And everyone hates you for it, but whatever. Who cares about the other people? Under pressure from the temple, conservative House Redoran has steadfastly resisted expansion in their district. As a result, House Redoran and the temple are in danger of being politically and economically marginalized by the more aggressive and expansionist Halal and Telvanni interests. The Imperial administration faces many challenges in the Vvardenfell district, but the most serious are the Great House rivalries. Animosity from the Ashland nomads, which pretty much is all around, what's the north of Telvanni area and the north, well, actually a lot of areas in Redoran. I don't think there's any Ashlanders in Halal territory, because Halal territory is all the south area, Balmoral, Caldea, that sort of thing. There's no Ashlanders there, no. You're all up north. Anyway, animosity from the Ashland nomads, internal conflicts within the temple itself, and the Red Mountain Blight. Struggles, which is gone now because I'm awesome and I'm the Nerovin. Struggles between Great House, Temple, and Imperial interest to control Vvardenfell's resource could at any time erupt into full-scale war. Ashlanders raid settlements, plunder caravans, and kill foreigners on their wild lands. The temple has unsuccessfully attempted to silence criticism and calls for reform within its ranks. But most serious are the plagues and diseased hosts provided by the blight storms sweeping out from Red Mountain. Vvardenfell and all Morrowind have long been menaced by the legendary evils of Dagathar and his ash vampire kin, not to be confused with real vampires, who are called blood vampires, I believe, dwelling beneath Red Mountain. For centuries, the temple has contained this threat within the Ghost Fence, but recently the temple's resources and will have faltered, and the threat from Red Mountain has grown in scale and intensity. If the Ghost Fence should fail, and hosts of blighted monsters were to spill out across Vvardenfell's town and villages, the Empire might have no choice but to evacuate Vvardenfell district and abandon it to disease and corruption, which totally happens sometime after the Oblivion Crisis and sometime before the beginning of Skyrim. In that short 200-year span, yeah. Well, that was a short history of Morrowind, and short it was, by Jeanette Sitt. This has been another reading of the Elder Scrolls, but for now, my name is Leo, and I will see you next time.